Hello, and welcome to a tier list. It's been a while. There's also a recorded tier list, not a live tier list. So I think I'll wax lyrical. I won't be too, lazy about it. Why is Courage JD? I think is a Twitch streamer. I don't. Who is Courage JD? Was there an awkward situation? Is this just like an in joke from the yard? Of course, elephant in the room. Not really much of an elephant, of course. The Yard posted about it, which is a podcast of fellas, and as most are actually. And so I said, you know what? Let's see it and let's judge it. Okay, you two. I'm gonna put you two in NBD now. You know what? Fuck it. We'll explain every single scenario for those of you who have not lived a human life, which is probably a lot of you, maybe even me. Of course, some of these I may not understand, so it is what it is. You too. Scenarios exist in which you are not intended to reciprocate a statement. You go to a coffee shop, you get handed your coffee, enjoy your coffee. You too. They're not drinking coffee, bro. In fact, they probably are drinking coffee, but that's besides the point. Lot of service industries in which you will be provided something, and in sort of your autopilot mode, you will suggest to yourself or to the person providing you with the service, you too. I'm gonna hit you with an NBD. Everybody has done it. If you haven't done it, then you must be you must be a post-COVID never outsider type of situation. Which, that's okay. What is P1, P2? This is another thing I didn't really. I gotta figure out what these actually mean. Okay, I have done my research, and my research indicates that P1 is you are the one causing it, and P2 is you are the person interacting with the person causing it. So let's just keep that in mind for later. I'm gonna put Courage JD quickly in NBD because I don't really this is either an inside joke or a dig at a streamer, and either way, I don't know the guy. I literally don't care. So we're gonna put it in NBD, and it would be weird to just leave it unranked. Goodbye into same direction walk. There needs to be a one in between. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little customization of this tier list because there's something between NBD and Day Ruiner. We have restructured the tier list to provide a shake of the head option. So, something has to be in between Day Ruiner, Smooth Off, and Endless Haunting. In the first place, I don't think some of these are probably Endless Haunting. So that I can put things like Goodbye into Same Direction Walk in Shake of the Head. I will not be ruining my day over some small situation such as this. But I will tell you certainly, when you hit the goodbye, especially, and this is sort of, I'm interested in inserting this into the situation, when it's somebody you didn't really want to keep talking to. There are a lot of situations where you're sort of okay to end an interaction, and indeed looking to end an interaction at a certain point, and then you hit the same direction walk. It's okay if both of you are sort of at that point, and then you can at least look you can put your headphones in, you go back on your phone, and you're signaling to the other person that despite the situation allowing itself for a continuing of the interaction is, for all intents and purposes, over. But it does suck when you're talking to somebody who loves to talk, and you're sort of there to humor them, and then a great opportunity has arrived. This is my street or whatever. This is my stop, and then unfortunately, you're going to the station as well, and then you sort of have to, especially if you made the mistake maybe of putting a hastiness into the goodbye. It really does. It's you sort of just internally shake the head. Calling the teacher ma'am, as the Americans would say it. This one I think is got to be Day Ruiner, because in any situation in which listen, we're here to deconstruct this stuff, okay? any situation in which there is a teacher and you are calling them mom, right? You're gonna be in that situation alongside your peers of some sort, right? If you're in kindergarten or I guess elementary school, primary school, I forget what it's even called in Australia, to be honest with you. I think we call it elementary. It's high school and elementary school, or I don't know. Anyway, grades K to 6, essentially. Uh, this is like people are in varying stages of development. You may not, if people see you as this sort of person, like they may make fun of you, but it may not stick, right? But certainly in high school, if you do this, like it does ruin your day, especially if you along your friends, for the rest of the school day, especially, you're gonna be, every time you try and say something, you try and speak up, it's gonna be, didn't you call the teacher your mom? And you just gotta tank it. It may even last more than a day, but it's certainly rough. And I mean, what I was gonna say is, if it happens past, if this was to happen past high school into university, it may enter here for sure. But I think you could tank it. But the thing is, at that point, it might even turn into a creepy thing, which is, an additional layer of concerning for sure. Or it might work out for you. No, maybe that's the alternative. I don't know. This is not an advertisement to hit on your professors. But no, I'm just kidding. I thought you were alone singing. Now, I'm to understand that in a situation in which you thought you were alone, so you started singing, and then somebody else was there. I'm gonna hit you with a NBD. And this is something I think I need to same thing is true for whistling, right? Like I've been making sort of an intentional step to do a little bit of whistling, humming. I haven't stepped into singing yet, but I might do like a low singing, like sort of under your breath type singing, because I think we not in a crowded public place where people are sort of unnecessarily going to be annoyed at you, but if you're just like on the side of the road, you're walking from place to place. I think right now we live in a world of, head down at phone, listening to music, and I mean, I'm listening to music also. So I think this is if there ever was an environment in which you would necessarily be able to feel comfortable that A, minimal people are going to be disturbed, B, the kind of people who are leaving their ears open to the sounds of the world are probably not going to be too, distastefully glancing upon you for singing and whistling and, living a mirthful life. I would assume so. And if they are, I don't really care for their opinion in the first place. And so I'm going to put this in NBD. I'm not going to put it in a good thing because, it is a little disconcerting, at least. Just thinking you're alone and not being alone. Oh. Bello. Anyway, put that in this situation. Awkward situation. Phone call during YouTube recording. Luckily, in this YouTube recording, I could just hit the pause recording button. Fun times. The wave behind... that one is certainly a shake of the head. You hit them with a wave. You find out they weren't looking. There's a category of sort of embarrassment, right? Where a lot of embarrassments are purely internal. The wave behind is something that you can tank easily because it's all in your mind, right? And you might say, yeah, all of everything is in your mind. That's true. That is true. But it's like water pressure or whatever, right? The physics of it. If it's coming from the outside in, your defenses have to be of a different sort of caliber to the inside out. And some people are worse on the inside out than the outside in. You might not really care what people think, but then your own thoughts about it, which are maybe built on what people think, to be clear, are going to be what crushes you. But regardless, the wave behind is not something that I find myself too stressed about. But I will, if it's certainly in shake of the head tier more than U2, because U2 is like an impulsive sort of thing. It's like, it's whatever. But the wave behind is like, in the modern day, how many times do you find yourself actually waving to someone? Not many. So when you're waving, there's an intentionality to it, and it feels like you've been sort of slighted or ignored or something in some way, you know? Certainly, certainly. So, as I understand it, long unfunny video, you're the party in this situation and you're the one seeing it in this situation. And if you're the one showing it, it's you in your mind's eye, you didn't see it as long unfunny. You thought it would hit, you thought it would be a great hit, and then you inevitably have, you pick it up that it's just too long and it's not really worth the squeeze, especially when you're showing to somebody in person, right? So I think in the rare situation in which I am in this party, I'm debating into this. So I'm gonna put it in shake of the head, even though it's sort of like just in between. If I'm showing somebody a video, honestly, more of it is I want to see it again, and also I want to see their reaction. So if they are sort of hitting me with the glances, my phone's out, they're looking at me a little bit when we're like 40 seconds into the video, like, is this gonna be over soon? You're holding me captive for this. This is not even worth the laugh. At this point, if it was even funny enough, I wouldn't be able to muster up the laugh. At that point, I'm sort of like, well, you're not standing up for yourself in this situation, so you're gonna watch this to the end. And if you're gonna not be honest and be like, okay, that was like not worth my time, then you get what you deserve. No disrespect, you get what you deserve, okay? But as the other party, this is downright horrible. All right. I don't mean this to be disrespectful to a lot of people. I know what I want to watch most of the time. A lot of the times I don't, but at least I know it when I see it. This is like almost never like it's just terrible, especially because it's one of your presumably friends or family, right? That you don't want to be able to get away from. I know I'm describing the same situation from two different perspectives and ranking them differently. Anyway, what did I? Yeah, okay, here. But it's genuine. Now I may be over it. I think I'm like, this is a bit of comedy here. Smooth Off speaks to me more like I just want to fucking do it right now. This is like it's a different caliber, right? I think Smooth Off, like, it's in between these two, but I think it's different kind of thing. So I'm gonna put it here, and also because it's funnier to put it here. But you just genuinely like sometimes being subject to somebody else's like model of the world in which something is funny, and knowing the expectation placed upon you at that point, when as soon as you realize it's not gonna happen that way, you're already planning on how to get that shit working. All right, you're already planning on how to give them the lie that they need to hear without really making it drawn out. That's where I stand on that. It's just like a sinking feeling. I think it's a different. Some people would find it like swapped around. That they were like, oh, I love videos that my friends show me, even if it's unfunny. Their intent was to be making my day better, and I hate it when I show somebody something and open my heart and then it doesn't work out. I just want to end it all. I take the sort of reverse view, which is like, if it gets to a point where you're suffering, that's your fault, and I'm too polite to end my own suffering, so I have to suffer. That's like where I'm at in this situation. But it's really not a big deal, because nowadays it's a links world and no one is really verifying if you click on your links. The only person's links you should really click on is your like romantic partner. Apart from that, you can sort of get away with really just not clicking on anyone's links, and I think people would not like take it too personally, to be honest. Boner in class discovered. This would be endless haunting tier. It never happened to me. Apart from like the bit, people do a bit all the time. If you're unfamiliar with how boys work in high school, depending on the nature of your pants, I assume this is universal, all pants with zippers or all pants in general, right? if you sit in a particular pose, which is common to sit in a chair in school, you will have your like zipper perk up in what a naive person's vision would constitute the reveal of a boner. The funny thing is sometimes it coincides with a boner, but you can easily skirt off it. In a genuine situation where this had happened to me, I think I would remember it to this day. 100%. I think I would, there would be times that I would think about it in the middle of the night. I think that depending, there's a chance I might be, there's like three words, alright? It's permanently etched in my soul, most likely. I managed to play it off and I remember it as what could have been so much worse. Option 3 is that it becomes a permanent part of an erotic fantasy. Like, this reshapes how I become aroused by things, which is probably the best case scenario, to be honest with you. To gain something from this situation. But I don't think that was what would happen to me. But then again, you never know. But I think it would just be downright terrible. Because when they say discovered, I'm imagining the worst case scenario. I'm imagining, somebody denies it, somebody then is like, no, it's really there, and then, or even, maybe it's like a presentation in front of class situation, and then it becomes like a whisper around the class, everyone is staring. Actually, that might, that in that situation is probably more likely that the third category gets activated. But most likely, I would probably just want to end it all, and then every time I think about it, I would be like, "Fuck's sake, why has that happened in my life?" But luckily, we don't have to think about that. No such thing happened. Hallway dance. I don't really. I mean, NBD. I guess Is this describing like somebody else dancing? Am I the one dancing in the hallway? Is it like a movie scene thing? If I'm doing it, it's not happening accidentally. I just want, this situation does not seem to me as an awkward situation in anything but, the perspective of somebody else looking at you, and you are the one who chose to dance in the first place. Obviously, it's not going to really be awkward to me at all. Am I crazy? Porn and browser history. Now, obviously, this depends on who's the one discovering it. I think a family member would be the worst case scenario. Anyone else, I think I could really just move on from it. So I'm gonna hit you with a shake of the head, because that's the average. It's probably NBD. Hell yeah, no. Actually, you know what? Let's just put in NBD with the caveat that obviously, if your parents found it, or maybe siblings, you could probably say that's real uncomfortable. I think genuinely, I think I would just tank it. It's not in my history, so good luck. That's just to safeguard myself, but if I don't really care either way. I mean, I browse Twitter in public, and my follows are what they are, okay? It was not an accident that all these anime girls wearing gold. I've been liking pictures of anime girls wearing the Kim bikini for, a week straight. My likes is drowned in anime girls wearing, of various shapes and sizes, just all wearing the golden bikini. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a blessing on my earth. Obviously, I don't think it qualifies as porn unless it's one of those situations where it's ill-fitting and you see the nipple or whatever. I don't know. Even then, we're getting into details that YouTube is not really happy with. But anyway, I think I would. This is my bread and butter. I'm a freak. I think I could easily walk this off. Absolutely no consequence. Even if it was my family, I think I could probably turn it on them to make them feel bad about it, to be honest with you. Grocery store linger. I assume the situation where you're with somebody else, and because if you're just there, your lingering is on purpose. You're having a fun time. This is when somebody is, you're aren't we done? This honestly can be a day ruiner because it's a waste of time. And this is the interesting thing about life. I guess there's a three-parter here, right? When you're choosing to waste your own time lingering around in the grocery store. Why did I forget the word for the grocery store? It's right here. The shops, because we don't really call it a grocery store. This way of phrasing. When you're doing it, it's chill. You're looking at all the aisles, you're taking your time, you're like, oh, maybe I want this today. It's that kind of situation, especially if you're choosing to go there in person. I mean, this day and age, it's a rarity. For a lot of people, I mean, I still go. So it's you know, it's nice to see the kinds of things that you might want to buy, and sometimes you'll be like, you know what, today's the day we try this weird chip flavor. Today's the day I buy it, this ready-made meal, and on a weird day we'll try it and have some fun with it. Live a bit of quirky life, right? But when it's somebody else, you know, it's just going to be terrible because you're not lingering for the same reasons. Especially if it's your, you know, parents and you're a kid and you're there, you're like helping out, but you like, we got everything, we're done, and then like, no, we got to do this and we got to do that. It's like, come on now, let's wrap this one up. If you can end up spending like an hour longer than you needed to, it can really like mess with everything else. Especially because you're psychologically thinking to yourself like, just to get out of here, you know. It's a different situation to if you genuinely just spent an hour because you were interested in, you know, buying some stuff. It's a different situation. So I think it's genuinely one of the worst ones because when the practical setting, it can ruin stuff. Like seeing during a movie with parents, I'm gonna hit you with NBD, 100% NBD. I think like obviously when I was younger, it would probably be a little bit of like a certainly I would look away, and even now I might not like maintain full eye contact with the movie necessarily. Right. Then again, I don't watch that many movies with my parents anymore. But certainly in every recent time it's happened in memory, which is what happens when you watch movies made for grown-ups, is that they have scenes in them that are, you know, adult. I'm just looking at the camera here, like I'm endorsing this, I'm promoting it. But the point being, like, it really doesn't matter at all. They fuck to make you, like, it's only as awkward as both of you make it. It can, like, you know, I think if I'm putting a model on it, maybe my mom might, you know, she might not like it, but me and my dad are like perfectly accepting of it. So as long as like none of us are gonna say anything, she might be like making a comment of it, like judgmentally, you know, all the power to her, you're allowed to judge, of course. So that's like, it doesn't like bother me at all. Is where I'm at. Maybe if you asked me when I was like 12, you'd come up with a different response for me. But you know, we live in this current year. Bad haircut, day ruiner, easy. But if there was an option to put like a week ruiner, maybe. But the thing is, even a bad, like, it has to be atrociously bad for it to really get worse. The thing is, even if it's bad, you can usually cut it more to turn it into an okay haircut that you didn't want, rather than a bad haircut that just makes you look terrible. And then it's just like a month, maybe a week or 2 weeks, it depends on how long your hair grows. You know, how quickly is what I mean to say. But genuinely, like, this is one of those situations is when it's a day ruiner specifically because you might trick yourself into thinking it looks good. You might convince yourself, no, it's not bad. It's not bad. Especially when it's something that you intentionally chose and you can't be mad about the outcome because you're like choosing to have this type or this style. You thought it would be good. You see it and you're like, he didn't even do a bad job. Like, it's just, it didn't work. You know, it just, my head, like, shape or whatever, I don't know what's going on with this, but it's like, it's a failing. And then those ones is like, it's genuinely, it's a day ruiner because you thought you were built different and it turns out you're not built different. That's the tragedy of it. But, like, especially for me, my hair grows pretty, like, reasonably quickly and I like it reasonably long. You know, right now it's like almost, it's like middle of my neck is gonna go back to my shoulders. When previously I've had it down on my waist, right? So it's really, to me, a bad haircut is something that's like redeemed pretty quickly, either by a shortening fix or a lengthening fix time or another trim. Either way, so I can understand if you like your hair short, that a haircut that doesn't work out can only be fixed by going bald, maybe. And you're like, I don't want that, so I have to tank it. That might be worse than a day ruiner, but for me, it's not. Dead family member surprise. Depends on the family member, obviously. Not to sound heartless. Like, if it's like, I'm gonna say smooth off. It's not gonna be endlessly haunting. Humanity can move on, okay? Because, I mean, it might be endlessly haunting if it's like your little sister who's like 3 years old or whatever, some like terrible shit like that. I don't know, I'm trying to construct the worst case scenario. I'm just imagining the average dead family member surprise. is the what I imagine when they describe this is probably like a grandparent that is like, not like unhealthy necessarily, but like not of the kind of health where you would maybe be able to comprehend that they've passed away suddenly, right? Not maybe not like a sibling or like an adult sibling that is otherwise just got maybe into a car crash, some sort of actual surprise, right? Not a health complication type surprise. That would be horrible, 100%. So I'm just averaging out these scenarios and putting it in smooth off. Because let's be honest, like if it's a family member that you met like 5 times, maybe at like a family event, it's not even, it's like NBD. You have to make some phone calls and feign that you knew them way better than you did. But like, it's fine. You like, it's probably lot worse. You don't want to like, to mourn here would really be an insult to the people who genuinely knew the person. You know what I mean? I'm not like, they had no impact on my life at all that I knew, at least. Maybe they funded some shit that I was not aware of. But anyway, but certainly like parents, siblings, maybe grandparents, depending, uncles, aunts, that kind of thing, certainly is horrible. No, it would not be endlessly haunting unless it happened like right in front of my eyes. But I'm not imagining that like I'm the sole survivor of a car crash that killed my entire extended family, including everyone I know. That would obviously be endlessly haunting, but that would be a gross misappropriation of the situation at hand. Anyway, saying hi to a stranger, I'm gonna say, yeah, NBD. You say hello. You hit them. They sort of look at you. This doesn't preclude that you are starting it up more of a conversation. I'm assuming in the way that they phrased it here that you're saying hi. They look up to greet you in a sort of quizzical manner, and then you're left with the realization immediately that this is not the person that you're trying to talk to, and then you sort of go, oh no, wrong person, and then you both just go back to what you were doing. You were looking for the person, and they go like put the headphone back in. GG, no problem. Like literally, this is the most nothing burger situation that's ever existed. I think for this to be awkward, it would only be awkward if the other person makes it into a weird thing, and then at that point, it's not even your fault. So GG. It's only, or if the other person was watching you do this, like 5 meters away, and then you turn around and they're like, "Huh, I see you don't know me." That might be a bit awkward, but that's not what they said here. But getting someone's name, I'm gonna put it in shake of the head. You know what? I'm gonna put it in Daruana because I do this a lot. I'm terrible with names, and the worst part, this is like not a flex. This is genuinely like it might be better if this wasn't the case. People remember my name way more than I remember theirs. Like to the point of like that I noticed that it's a phenomenon. So I'll someone I've met maybe a handful of times in the course of like I don't know, maybe in a university class, some activity or whatever it may be. I just won't remember their name at all, and then they'll greet you, right, in a clearly indicative sense that they know who you are, they know your name, they know everything, and then like it's just you're looking for a way to get them to say their name. You're maybe trying to drag other people into conversation to introduce them and hope that a name pops up. You're intentionally addressing them in ways that don't make it clear that you don't know their name. You're trying to make sure they don't find out. You're always worrying about it, And the worst thing is if you it makes sense in some situations, right? But when they're treating you like you should know their name, you don't feel like you have the social capital to be like, oh, what was your like? Can you remind me? Like trying to pull it off in like a style way, and it doesn't really work. You know, it's genuinely it can be terrible when you enter this situation. I mean, I'm including that there's like a conversation in which it becomes like a problem. Otherwise, like I forget people's names all the time. If I never met them again, I don't think it would matter, of course. But yeah, it's terrible. Now, not to state the obvious for those of you who have been watching long enough to hear me talk about it, I am neither white nor black, shockingly. So you're gonna have to, like, I don't know in which situation. I guess I'm looking at this as like a third party observer, or am I the white person? On the yard, I know they're the white people, but there's no black on black here, which is, I think, really a disappointment and really reflects bad. Now I'm just kidding. So we gotta. I think obviously, like, if you're the white person in this is like shake of the head. This is Daruin, 100%. Because the difference is there's like a cultural cachet in, I'm assuming in this, like, the world is America, of course, because we live in a fucked up society. So you're trying to gain cultural cachet and capital by, putting yourself in this situation and trying to get that perfect hand clasp, right? So when you ruin it white on white, it's like, better luck next time. See ya. But when you ruin it here, you're doing it because you're really staking your claim on it, right? You're trying to gain aura. Let's just put it in simplest of terms. It's an aura loss when you as the white person failed here, right? Because you think it's your fault. That's your image of it. Now, it may not be your fault. There's like we could get into a whole heap of, like, ways that this kind of thing has entered this even conversation in the first place, but really this is not the place, no time for it. I don't really know that much about it to be the person to deliver that information to you anyway. As I said, I'm neither, right? So anyway, so let's just say, like, you look much less cool if you fail in this situation than in this situation, and I think that's sort of evident, right? Surprise is not during laugh. That's, I think, a smooth off situation. I think it hasn't happened to me in a long time. Like a genuinely long time. But you know what? Back when I think this is the thing. I think back when it happened, it wasn't so bad, because back when it happened, like, I was in school and I carried around like tissues and like handkerchief and stuff. I was that guy. I carried around a handkerchief. Okay, so it actually was not a big deal at all. I could just wiped it, and it wasn't really that anyone had any time to even really make fun of me, right? But I think now, if it happened, I don't carry around a tissue or a handkerchief. I would have to. What would I even do? Wipe it on my finger? No, but then your hand is ruined. Get your shirt or your, like, undershirt. But, like, obviously they see you, and then it would, especially if you're trying to, like, if it's not with a friend but with someone you're trying to get to a better state with in a relationship or friendship or otherwise, it would really, really just, like, suck. But there's a chance it could be endearing if it's in the right situation. I don't think I would be able to, like, move it on. I think this would really, like, it. You know what? It's not smooth off. It would ruin my day. I would think about it on that day, but then I would not linger on it further. I think let's be fair and unbiased or biased, whatever. You get what I mean. Stinky but don't know it as the party. Now, forgive me for this literal reading of it. If you don't know it and you're stinky, obviously, like it's not a big deal because you don't know it. You know what I mean? If you knew it because someone told you, that would change the scenario, right? But if you don't know it, then how could it possibly ruin your day? If things happen about it, like if someone moves away from you as a result of it, either you know it, in which case the scenario is different, or you continue not to know it, and it does not, like, play a part in your mind. Maybe I'm too literal on this. I'm just like, you gotta phrase it better then. Mogged, anyway. Stinky but don't know it. As the party, like, looking up, like, interacting with the stinky person who doesn't know it. It is. I'm gonna say it. This has happened to me quite a few times. No, I mean it earnestly. I was like, I've studied software engineering. You can imagine the kinds of people, and I like that you end up interacting with that have sort of, they're showing up to lectures and classes and whatnot, but they haven't necessarily, like, you know there's a socialization step missing, or whatever you want to call it, right? They're stinky, but they don't know it. It's in the prompt. I'm gonna be honest with you, it does not ruin my day. It is a shake of the head for sure, because you can't tell them. You don't know them well enough to tell them. There's no good way that this goes if you're not good friends with somebody, right? Like, you can maybe play off a breath thing with mints and stuff, but when someone genuinely, like, maybe they don't even know how to use a shower, like, whatever it may be, especially when it's like a peculiar type of scent where you're like, I don't even know how this ended up on you. How did you end up like this? And it's regular. I'm describing somebody in my mind. They don't know me. Like, then if they listen to this, it's not you I'm talking about. Wink, wink. Anyway, but but this is like just. It's a shame because you can't fix the problem, and the problem will keep happening as, like, if you're remain at this level, right? But if I'm honest, it's like it doesn't matter that much in a lot of scenarios, because like, what does it change in like some state, right? If they know it, then maybe they'll act weirder because of it. If they don't know it, they're acting normal. You might have to maintain a distance, or you may not want to talk to them for as long as you may otherwise. But that's sort of all. That's a minor inconvenience at most. I don't like. It wouldn't really ruin my day. My nose isn't that sensitive. I can, like, tank it. I have a cat at home, bro. He shits in the house, in one place. He's not, like, crazy. Okay, well, he's chill. But you get what I mean. Promposal denied. That's if promposal. I'm assuming by this they refer to the American phenomenon of staging some sort of, like, you do something for them, or it's like a big, like, movie style. You get, like, a poster, with that Goku one that was in the trash or whatever, that kind of thing. Because, like, we have prompts. I'm not gonna lie to you, I want a loan for them, but I listen. I won best dressed, so that really was one of those situations where I had single aura, and it's not cope. It's cope internally, but, like, everyone else was like, this guy has aura. I may have been like, fuck, I wish I had someone. I wanted to go with somebody. Fuck, but, like, here there's not that much of a thing to it. To be quite honest with you, certainly I was more concerned with it during the high school times. Right? I mean, that's kind of the only situation in which there is such a problem-like event. I mean, I guess there are, like, balls and stuff, you know what I mean? Which I have been to, like, a handful of them, but, like, in that situation, you don't really, you don't feel bad for doing all that, and you're certainly not doing a promposal. If you're going with someone, there's no, like, dice roll. You know what I mean? You're in a relationship with someone and you go with them, or you are single and you attend an event. And only really in high school are you going to end up with this sort of, like, will they, won't they, back and forth, song and dance, you know what I mean, of ambiguity, which is fun, to be honest with you, and it's fun to look back on, but, whatever. If I went through all the effort and I got denied, it would be a smooth up situation. It would not be endlessly haunting. I think I would look back on it as I look back on sort of adjacent failures as learning experiences and, part of one's life. I think I have that sort of clarity of mind in looking back on myself and my life. But it would be downright awful for a while, for sure. Like, I mean, deny it is really just rough, man. You would probably rather they deny it than like whatever that they come with you and it's just like okay. But certainly, I'm imagining a scenario where I've gone to a ton of effort and it's been denied. I've opened my heart and it's been stomped on. That's terrible for sure. It's more than a day. Let's put it that way, right? Calling someone wrong name. Where did I put forgetting someone's name? It is worse than forgetting someone's name. Calling someone wrong name is move off because like you're putting your foot forward, especially because like if you there's like a nuance here. You could forget someone's name and then say fuck it, I'm gonna go for what I think is the correct answer and get it wrong, or you can genuinely think that that was their name. And in the latter scenario, which I think I've been in more often than not, that compared to those two, because if I don't know, I'll just play the dance and dance around it. Like calling them the wrong name entirely. Oh man, oh that's terrible. Because you can see the expression on their face. You're talking to them, that like, do I really mean so little to you? Like, and the funny thing is, it's almost never happened to me. So, like, I don't know how I would even really take it. I think I might just be like, no, I'm a different guy. I would be a little offended. But seeing it happen to people, have the few times it has happened, that they just like, because then they have to correct you, or they have to like meander around it, you know? And I think that's exactly where it goes from like I wish that's really ruined my day, to like genuinely something that you would remember for longer than that length of time. You know, I still remember a few instances of this, so I feel like it's justified. Like, I forgot people's names all the time, and it's not lingered with me as much. This was 100% worse. Court Myron, 100% low key a good thing in this day and age. If you look at like in there's, and I'm not, this is a terrible. Like, I'm not gonna get a rant going. Right? I could easily rant about like, oh, society these days, we can't talk to people. How are you supposed to talk to whatever? Do some like, you know, the kids are not okay type rants, right? Which is probably true, but I'm not necessarily qualified to hold the discussion to a degree that's beyond like anecdotal and opinionated, which I think is insufficient. And B, I don't think people really care that much, to be honest with you. They care, but like, you know. And but all that to be said, I'm still going to talk about it to some degree. To that extent, I think caught looking at someone like, you know, like if you get a little lost in their eyes or whatever, I think it's perfectly fine. And if I'm honest, you're doing it on purpose in the modern day. At least you're doing it with the acknowledgement that there's a chance that they might notice. Otherwise, you would just never look at anyone. You would just like go straight, or you wouldn't be calling him Myron. You would just be like accidentally meeting eyes, which is probably way more awkward than this, right? Because like the solution to being in this situation is you're looking at someone, you're getting a bit lost in the sauce. They look at you, you just smile. It works every time. It's unbeaten as a method. You just smile. You maybe nod. It works every time. You know, you don't hit him with like a crazy smile. You hit him with like the, you know, accepting sort of smile, like the you know, what can you do type situation. You know, hi, how are you? Sort of one level below hi, how are you? I don't know how else to explain it without doing it. And I'm obviously don't have my camera on. You know, you hit it with a little nod, little smile. It works every time. Well, you won't be in any like bad situations because of it. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, to be honest with you, is that you end up starting a conversation. Maybe you meet the love of your life because you were caught Myron. I don't know. It's better. I don't think the worst case scenario of this is anything at all The best case scenario could change your life. So, like, it's cool. Happy birthday, wrong day. Same tier as maybe even worse than calling somebody the wrong name. If you get somebody's birthday wrong and yet you still want to wish them happy birthday, it implies like a administrative fuck up on some like high tier. Right? 100%. Because if you wanted to remember someone's birthday in this day and age, in any day and age really, you just put it on a calendar or an app, or the calendar app, or you note it down, or you just remember it, which is kind of my method for people's birthdays that I care about, to be honest with you, because I find it sort of disingenuous to put birthdays on calendars, but it may be the move to be like fake nice in this day and age. But anyway, like to full send it on getting someone's birthday wrong, especially when you're not like, I know I have a few of like a friend or two where I've gotten their birthday sort of mixed up with a similar sounding date, like between a few days, and then they don't take any offense to it because like it's a bit at this point. So that's like not what I mean here. What I mean here is like you've committed to a happy birthday like type situation, and it's really like you've fucked it up entirely, which I think is genuinely, you just feel terrible, because it's supposed to be a special day, and you got it wrong, so technically you have not ruined it, but you sort of like, it's a stain on your friendship a little bit, That's what I mean to say. Anyway, tripping is just a day ruiner straight up, to be honest with you. I haven't tripped and like genuinely fallen in a long time outside, maybe in the house, I've fucked up my toe one time not too long ago. The nail is still a bit sharp as a result of it. Like it got split and it's regrown to the point where there's no splitting, but it's like, it's weaponized now. But anyway, you embarrass yourself, you injure yourself. It's all around bad. Especially like I'm imagining a bad but not terrible. Obviously, is the worst case scenario. You're like injured for life or something. Obviously, that's not what I imagine in this. But for it to be, everyone looks at you. You've disrupted maybe the flow of foot traffic, and you got to walk up. People are considering offering you help, and then you got to be like, no, I'm fine. I can walk this off. You walk it off. The help might have been nice. But you've refused it now. You're bleeding, maybe. You're covered in like dust. You brush it off. It's just like, and then you gotta go home. And then you're in pain. Every time you feel the pain, it reminds you of the time you tripped in front of everyone. It's real bad, but it doesn't last for that long. So putting it there. Silent friendlies. I don't know what this even means. Is friendlies, I assume, is this like the fighting game thing? I'm gonna put this in NBD because I don't know, nor do I imagine any scenario where this is like probably about to go, to be honest with you. Because I'm not a fighting game player. And even if even in situations in which I have played it, like, I can't imagine that being silent during it would really do anything good or bad. So whatever. Traffic, go ahead, no you. Smooth off. Can I say smooth off, but for them, not for me? Can I like turn around the double barrel shotgun in this situation? I'm gonna put it in day ruiner, to be honest with you, because it will piss me off for the whole day. Because this is the thing about being in traffic, right? Is that in almost no scenario as a driver will I ever admit that somebody else's like option was the correct option. I am the universal driver. I know the correct option to take. When I make a mistake, I hit the fucking there. I hit my head. My fist is on my face. I'm sticking my tongue out and winking. I'm being moe and stuff. When somebody else is at fault, they are the scum of the earth. They are villains. They're out to get me, etc., etc. Right? So with that model in mind, which is just the truth. That's how everyone sees it, I think. When I tell somebody to go ahead or I signal somebody to do something in traffic, I am correct. This is the basis for how I interact with the roads. When they rebuke my interaction, I am left with a decision at that point, right? I've given them a free decision by hitting them with the go ahead. When somebody gives me the go ahead, I take the go ahead. I never say no you, because they've indicated an option out of maybe multiple options, and to deliberate on it further would be like a farce, right? Really. When I hit somebody with the, go ahead, and then they say, no, you go ahead, I either have to walk back my opinion that they should have gone ahead, which I don't agree with that walk back. You've forced me into a situation where I have to disagree with myself, which is not true. I don't. Or I have to double down and say, no, you go ahead. And the first one is nice, right? The first go ahead is, I've evaluated this scenario. I think it would be fine for you to go ahead. Here's a nice little treat for you. Let's all enjoy ourselves on this happy fun day on the roads of this country. And the second go ahead after you've doubled down is, no. I've told you to do something. You're gonna fucking do it. It's that simple. If it goes beyond that, I've never gone further beyond that. I imagine at that point, you start gesturing wilder and wilder, it becomes a back and forth. The person who's more frustrated and more time pressure on them goes ahead. Is more pissed. Both of us are pissed off. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Downright. Homie yells at his mom. I think this is not really ever happened to me, but I think it would be endless haunting. For sure. Because I remember a similar situation, and this only similar adjacent type situation, I still remember it, so I think it would be endlessly haunting. Because it's like a window into somebody's life in such a delicate and personable, not personable, it's not personable, to be clear, personal situation, right? And you don't know who's right, who's wrong. You want to be with your friend, but it's not it's on its face, it's not kind to do that, but maybe there's history we don't know about. All being in that situation is horrible, because you just look straight ahead. You don't want to do anything that would make it worse for either your friend or maybe even their mother. But at the same time, you don't want to end up being dragged into it. Odds are you probably will be dragged into it. At some point you hear your name and you're like, what do I can't do anything about this, can I? It's just terrible in every scenario. It's real bad. So I'm just gonna put it there. Okay, I'll go back. I could reshuffle these, but a lot of these is just vibes based anyway. Caught talking shit. If I'm no disrespect, I'm gonna put this in NBD. If I'm talking shit, there's very few scenarios where I wouldn't back up my own words to the person that I'm talking about. I think I'm not talking it to them primarily out of respect for not being rude. If I end up talking shit and the person's there, I'll be like, yeah, okay, I said what I said. I don't mean it I might not mean it necessarily let's start beefing in that kind of way. It's just that's where I'm at. Also, I don't talk shit that often, to be honest with you. And when I do talk shit, it's intentionally ambiguous, because I'm conflict averse in that specific sense. I'm not interested in escalating this back and forth, especially not on social media, where it's impossible to have real conversations on Twitter, for instance, right? But anyway, I don't think this is that big of a deal. It may be a shake of the head because it's a disappointing situation, I think, for sure. But it would not ruin my day, I think. Because if I'm talking shit, I'm saying what I think. For my own day to be ruined by opinions that I genuinely have held would sort of be why did I start that if I wasn't going to finish that, Couple fighting, I mean, certainly day ruiner. It would be smooth off if it got worse, but I think to put it higher is to misunderstand how fighting. Like, you're a couple, you're going to fight. It doesn't say overhearing or watching somebody else's couple fight, like another couple is what I mean to say. If you're in the couple and you're fighting, it's gonna ruin your day for sure. You're gonna be mad at the person that you presumably love, but it's not gonna make it that much worse. Fighting is a part of relationships. You move forward, you move past it, you tank it. That's like a skill, right? To be under the impression that you're never gonna fight the person that you're gonna be in love with is to be delusional, of course. So I think really you're not gonna, like, it's really not gonna matter in the scheme of things, but it will certainly in the moment be terrible. You know, if the fighting turns into something worse, then the chips fall where they may. You know what I mean? But I don't think that one instance or in general couples fighting is going to be anything worse than ruining your day. Bad tattoo. I don't know how to even say that word anymore. I'm gonna say day ruiner because a bad tattoo. I've not had one. I may never have one. I don't know. But if you're the kind of person, like, the only situation in which this is truly bad is if it's like one of your first tattoos or your first one, and then maybe you were intoxicated. You're like, oh, this seems like a good idea at the time, and then you get it, and then you look at it, and you're like, what the fuck is this on my body? But you can always do one of those repurposing of tattoos. You can like turn it into something else down the line type situation, I think. So it can't be that much worse, right? If you have a bad tattoo, it would have to be downright like atrocious, life-threateningly atrocious for it to be unfixable through like a draw over or incorporation style thing, right? Like, they got rehabilitation for the kind of people who drew like Nazi swastikas on them. Like, people who have done that and then have moved on from that like phase of their life, thankfully, and they're like, well, I've got this mark on me now, bro, we gotta fix this. And there's like, people have solved that problem. If that's about as bad of a tattoo as it can get, if that's problem solvable, it can't be really any worse than a day ruiner. No one will ever know it apart from people who were there at the time. It doesn't exist on you anymore, you know? Not so big of a deal. Sex overheard. I said what I said. What? I have to put something in here. You may as well put this in here. You know? Unless it turns into some sort of like horrible thing in which you're like, okay, should I call the police? Which is probably not what they mean here. They talk about sex, right? I can't see, you know, how this could be anything but good, really. You know? Even if it's like, you don't have to see it. It didn't say overseen. I didn't walk in on them. If I'm just like in an apartment or something, and, you know, someone in the next room over is getting it on, I'll be like, you know, good for you, man. Why would I not want to, like, I guess not want to, so nah, we're stepping into a different territory there. Why would I be put off by it, really, is my stance on that one, you know? We should all be so lucky, really. Strive to be more positive about this sort of thing. That's where I stand. New Discord discovered. I don't know the context of this. I don't know what it means. I'm gonna put it in a good thing because, like, why would it be a bad thing? Seems to be new. You've discovered it. Okay. There was no further context delivered. Maybe the video describes it in a different manner, which is, you know, I haven't seen the video, to be clear. So maybe there's additional truths involved in this, but as far as I can see it, perfectly, you know, good and acceptable. And if it's bad, just leave the Discord. I don't know. Or if it's somebody else's like account is what they mean to say. I don't know why they would phrase it this way. So whatever. Fart in public, smelly quiet. This is my modal fart. This is most of my farts. And so, given that that's my life experience, I'm gonna put it right there. When you're the kind of if you're not a regular farter, you might find yourself more embarrassed by it. I've been in the loud fart. I've done it smelly quiet. I've done this. I've done that. I've done it all. Right. My guts have like, I have some mild lactose intolerance, but I still be drinking coffee and all that stuff. You're not gonna stop me. Okay. I live my life. Farting is like It's the same biological tier to me as coughing, sneezing, burping even. Like when you burp, you can put your hand over your mouth and suppress the noise, right? Or you can like get it out slowly. You can do the same thing when you fart. You know, you slightly like open the aperture of your ass and let it leak. Maybe do something like that, or you just let it rip, man. At this point, like it's happened so many times that I am genuinely immune to it. If anyone looks at me, I'll just look at them back and hit them with like a shrug. It doesn't do anything to me anymore. I'm not so like I haven't gone into yes, sniff that shit for me or whatever. Maybe that's the next evolution. I hope not, to be honest. I'm living pretty good right now without that in my life, but I'm sure I'd adjust. Point being, like this is the kind of thing where I don't like begrudge you for having this as a problem in your life, but I just know that we live different gut biome and journeys. You know what I mean? Like, especially like maybe if you're like if you have an image of being like cute and dainty and you're letting out big ones and you don't think that aligns, although I think some would call that gap moi. I think that like for a guy, I feel it's closer to being like fuck yeah, I'm fun, to be honest with you, and that's chill by me. Like I don't know how else to say it, man. At some point, you just have to move on from this as like a problem in your life. It happens when you're older, certainly. If I don't imagine anyone above 60 is like really concerned about it. At that point, your control is limited anyway. Fucked up the handshake. I'm gonna say smooth off. If you're going for a handshake, then you're already like trying to establish a rapport beyond the basis. If to go for it and to fuck it up is diabolical, 100%. I don't go for many handshakes that aren't just a traditional like shake of the hand or maybe a fist bump. Fist bump's hard to fuck up. And I'm imagining in this situation it might be like an elaborate one that you fucked up, which is like even more oral loss because you tried and you failed, that kind of like high tier stuff. It's real bad, 100%. It's real bad. I think it's worse than a day ruiner because it's more infrequent. Some of these things are important to note. They happen more frequently, and so they can't be that bad because otherwise, like, you have to scale it. You know what I mean? Supply and demand, but for horrible situations. It's that kind of situation. Fuck up the handshake. You know, it's not gonna endlessly haunt me, I think. Unless it was like in a pivotal life moment, but then it's not really about the handshake anymore, is it? But it's the going for it. In this situation, a lot of this, apart from this one and this one, which is like, you know, whatever, all of these are like when you go for it. It's like a typical element in what I think is terrible is like putting yourself out there and then to get it fucked up is to me much worse than a lot of other situations. Elbow touches boob. I mean, this one should be self-explanatory. You did not intend for it to happen. If it happened, like, you know, if it's so obvious, you just apologize and move on. If it's one of those situations where it's like, and I've seen this, people have posted about this before, if you're well endowed as a woman in this context, you're sort of aware, like ambiently, that, you know, there's gonna be like incidences of contact here and there, and that you're just sort of immune to it. Like, you know, you get used to it after a certain point in your life. And I mean ambiently, I'm not talking about obviously harassment, right? I'm talking about like, you know, you're getting out of a train and someone else is getting in and they bump into you, and it's like, well, you know, physics happens. I don't think it's gonna be of a concern to anyone, obviously, but like between you and me, it's low-key a good thing. Like I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna be sitting at home being like, that was nice, that was pleasant, you know. It's like a nice little fresh breath of air. It's like having an extra fry at the bottom of the bag, you know? You don't ask for the fries at the bottom of the bag, but you take what you can get. It's perfectly acceptable. You don't do this shit on purpose, obviously. That's wrong. You get what I mean. I don't want to sound crazy here. I think everyone gets what I mean. I think the girls also get what I mean. You're dishonest if, as a girl, this happens to you and you're not like, I mean, with your elbow. Maybe the other way around also, I don't know. I don't presume to know. Toilet clog, easy day ruiner, 100%. Because it takes you a day to fix the toilet clog if it's real that bad. We used to have previous, living situations. We had the kinds of toilets that were not happy with the kinds of shits I was putting out. It would regularly be one of those, like, you flush it, it does not go. And then, worst comes to worst, water starts rising. You know you're in for a fucking treat. So, you get, like, the hot water out, get some, like, kettle water or whatever, boiling it, and then you put it down the toilet. You hope that breaks things down or whatever down there. Maybe you bring out the plunger, etc., etc. I've never had to call a plumber for it, but it's one of those situations, especially when, like, you are trying to fix it before somebody else has to use it and notices that it's been in disrepair as a result of your actions. It's genuinely, like, that level of, panic as well is what makes it a day ruiner, for sure. It's not a quick fix either if it's a clog. If it's not a clog, it's not a, quick fix anyway. Or it is a quick fix. You get what I mean to say, of course. So, I'm gonna I had the fart discussion already. Loud fart in public, not a big deal at all. It comes out of your ass whether you like it to or not. I try to make it quiet for the, public good, but if it happens, it happens. I can't say, like, I care less. In fact, I'm striving to be the kind of person that puts the onus on the person's reacting to it to, like, justify it. Because it's completely, like, it's one of those social norms that literally, once you put someone to the test for it, they don't know how to explain it. They're just like, no, it's just, like, it's not done. Okay, but everyone farts. Yes. Okay, but then why did you look at me when I did it? Well, because it happened. I was like, okay. Well, it's the same level as any other loud noise, right? I moved my chair a bit too loud. Everyone looks at it because, like, it's loud noise. It's a bit different. How's it different? Shouldn't it be more accepted? It's biological. It's, happens to everybody. It's you can easily trap people with this one, I think. So, as somebody who'd be farting, I think this is like my wheelhouse. Anyway, we've covered the toilet clog. Final situation: card declined on date. My card is the card declining. I've only encountered it a few times, and that's because I forgot to, like, transfer the money into the appropriate account situation. I've never, and I mean this, like, with full respect, I've never been in the situation where I've been trying to spend money I don't have. Right. So if I'm going into some place, I know how much money I've, like, allocated it, not to flex, but also to flex, whatever, incidentally, right? So for me to have my card declined repeatedly, and especially this is, like, I think this would haunt me even if the date succeeded, because if you're doing this, the reason you have your card out is because you're trying to be, like, the chivalrous gentleman knight type guy. You're trying to be like, no, I'll pay. And then you whip your card out and it's declined, and then you're like, full silence. Tap again, declined. They go, oh, maybe it's maybe you have to insert it this time. There could be a bit of a bug. Both of you know that's not the bug. It was a $40 meal at a restaurant. It's like, it's not going to hit any limits. It's not going to cause you to have to put in your PIN. Like, inserting it is not going to fix it. We live in 2026. We do it anyway, it doesn't work. And then at that point, like, your date is, like, getting their wallet out. It's like, should I just... And then you have to stand your ground. You're like, no, I got this. This is just a bug. There's something going on. And then, then now you're looking at your, like, banking apps. You're, like, checking everything. Hopefully you find this. Like, it's just you're digging yourself a grave deeper and deeper, and you're deep in embarrassment. Put the cashier or whoever it is, attendant person, looking at you like, well, you sort of getting yourself into this mess, man. You volunteered this situation, and then it's just it's the ultimate. You're putting it forward, and you're getting shut down situation for sure. And I think like it's one of the situations where you can't really even. It's hard to play it off. Also, you know. I think you could recover from this at some point, but it would, if it failed and the date didn't work, you would never stop thinking about if I just like sorted that error out, because it's an error realistically. Like, it's not, in this day and age, it's probably your fault. Let's be honest. Like, I don't, pretty much every scenario it's been like I haven't arranged the funds properly or whatever, or like some setting is wrong. I don't know, right? But like, it's perceived to be your fault, and you're just left thinking to yourself, well, if I had just not done that, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe that was the final straw. Maybe she doesn't fuck with me anymore. Maybe that was the reason. Anyway, luckily it doesn't happen to me. But unfortunately, we got different sorts of problems in this world. It's not the only problem in this world. But anyway, that's my awkward social situation tier list maker. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your disagreements and your opinions on this one. And you want me to elaborate? I'm sure I got you, bro. Like, comment, subscribe, as always. See you next time.